And we're live. Yay! We're a little bit late. Hi, everyone. I know Evanita, you're there, and Melissa. Cool. It's nice to know there's like friendly faces out there. So we've been a little bit busy getting everything set up, but now that we're sorted out, we should all be fine. The only thing is I seem to have, I failed to get coffee in my cup. So we'll see how long I last. Maybe Anastasia can make me a cup of coffee. So today the idea is that we are going to be talking about the Majacraft wheels and hopefully answering some of the FAQs. I know Glynis often gets asked questions about the wheels and setting them up and some of the accessories and so on, and I often get questions with people saying, how do I spin for this or that, or what accessories do I need on this wheel? So today is basically Majacraft Wheels 101. And we've got, I've got my little gem here and my aura, and Glynis has the aura and the rose sitting there. Maybe we can talk about some things like drive bands and general maintenance as well. I know people have asked about oiling. So Glynis, I know you probably get a lot of emails with some of these questions. What are the most common ones that you're getting? Oh, can you hear me, Glynis?
I think people do get quite concerned about their drive belts, and one of the main things with it is to make sure that the head is well up in the slot. This is on the Rose or the Suzy rather than on the Aura, because of course that alters all sorts of things. But if your drive belt has got slack or it's got smooth, then it doesn't operate as well.
It's often hard to tell, isn't it? By just looking at it, it doesn't always look like it's worn because it's, you know, it's the construction of it. It can be quite smooth, but it's not really always visible. How long do the drive bands actually last? Was there like a use by date on them?
Oh no, look, they can last for ages. Mine often last 10 years or more, but of course some people have cats, and cats seem to like drive belts, so they get chewed up pretty quick sometimes. But you will notice that when you've got a new drive belt, it's quite rough feeling, whereas once you've used it a lot, it'll start to get quite smooth and possibly even darken up a little bit. And what happens is it loses its memory, and if you cut it and rejoin it, because sometimes you know they stretch a little and you need to shorten them, you'll find it's really hard to join. It'll go dark when you melt it, and it's just a nightmare. So it's really time at that stage to get another one.
Okay, well that explains it, because I did try that once and I thought I just failed with the burning side of things. So it was probably just it was too old and it just needed replacing.
Just got to the end of itself, right. I think sometimes, but they generally last for years. So, you know, it's not that you're having to do it every 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, previously I'd had a different kind of wheel, and I just had like a cotton drive band, and it was nothing to replace that every month or so, because it would stretch or it would snap or it would just wear out. And so, but with these green drive bands, I sort of tend to get a little bit, I take it for granted that it's just always going to be good because it does last so long, and I forget that actually probably it does need replacing at some point. It's just a normal thing to do with most wheels, but they do seem to last a long time. And the idea of being able to cut and rejoin, if they've just stretched a bit but they've still got the memory in them, then you know, that just extends the life a bit further, doesn't it?
The other thing you can do is you can, again, I'm talking about Suzy's and Rose's, you can tilt the head so that it'll just take up a bit more of the tension. But generally, if you're setting the head on a Suzy or a Rose, it needs to be about a finger width below the wooden spacer bolt.
Can you show us? You got the Rose there, because I don't have those wheels, so I'm not so familiar with those. It's the similar with the
wandering.
Yeah. I can click the. Here we go. Click that over to the other camera. You might have to shout a bit more, Glynis.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll notice on this one I can just about get my finger underneath the spinning head and the and the spacer. The other thing I was mentioning was that you can tilt the head like that, and that will also tension the belt a bit if it's a bit slack.
Oh, that's useful.
Yes, keep it well up,
Okay.
unless you shorten the belt too much.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's good, because the rows, I haven't used many roses. I've really been aura focused with most of my spinning, and now I've got the little gem. I'm kind of spinning a lot on that too. But the rose is just a slightly different construction in the head to the aura, so the aura doesn't do that tilting in the same way. Yeah.
I have to say, since camp, I have been doing a lot more spinning on the aura, which is why I've got 2 wheels at home at the moment.
Yeah, I know. Melissa's been doing some really cool yarns since camp too. I've been seeing her photos coming up. For those people that weren't able to come to camp, I know we're on the other side of the planet from many people. Majacraft camp it's very cool. It's just an exciting weekend. And this last year we had this last month we had Laurie Boyer from the US came over and showed us some of her techniques for spinning. It was amazing. Lots of people left with great inspiration and ideas, and I've seen heaps of people making neat yarns sort of based on her ideas as well, which is really cool. And the aura is very good for those, especially the ones with a high texture. Okay, have we got any questions? We had some questions, a little list that we made of what we were going to be covering today. The first one on the list was attaching and removing the flyer. So I think we'll come back to our agenda. And I have got my aura here. So how about I show how I take the flyer on and off? Because one of the cool things about, where are we? Okay. One of the cool things about these flyers is that they kind of take themselves on and off. I'll move back a bit with a little bit of treadling. Okay, so here's my aura and my flyer. So when you've done it up, you want to make sure it's just a little bit tightened up. I put my hand on the poly and just give it a little twist. To take it off, I'm actually just going to undo it a little bit, and I'm going to treadle it off. So I'm treadling, treadling to the right. And there it is. It just comes straight off like that. I have to admit, I probably had my wheel for, I don't know, a couple of months before I realised I could do that. And the number of times I just spun it off and then dropped it onto the treadle, it was heartbreaking. So when I discovered doing that, it was like a breakthrough. And you can put it on the same way. So you just line that up. And you can do this with all of the wheels. Line it up and just treadle it on again till it has some resistance, then give it a little tighten up, and you're ready to spin. Pretty cool. I like that. And I can do it on all of them. It sort of feels like cheating, but it's not. So that's my flyer tip. Are there any troubleshootings with that? Have people ever had difficulty with getting the flyers on and off?
Yes, I do have a number of people say to me they can't get their flyer off, and it's almost always that the whorl is not tight on the shaft. So you need to get your 2mm Allen key. I got that so you can see it?
Yeah, can see it.
Do it up, and then you'll find that almost invariably that's what the problem has been.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we made a little video on wheel assembly, on how to assemble the aura actually, but this is relevant for all the wheels. If you find that, it's on the YouTube channel, which is where we're broadcasting from now, the Majacraft YouTube channel, and it's partway through the assembly process we actually show how to put the pulley onto the shaft. And it's important to get that little flat piece in the shaft lined up with the screw that you're putting in through the pulley, and we focused on that in the video because we know that's something that can go wrong. So if you're not sure if you've got that shaft pulley on the shaft properly, you can check it and go back and have a look at that video as well. Even though it's for the aura, it's the same for the other wheels as well, isn't it, Glynis?
Yes.
shaft and
I'm just
pulley.
feeling I don't really want to get into this, Susie, but we do have people who have their wheels get jammed on, and the thing is the fit is quite tight, and if you have the grub screw sticking out and it turns on the shaft and comes off the flat spot, what it can do is it can raise a little wee tiny little bit of metal, and that'll be enough to make it hard to get the whorl off. Now, if that happens to you, it's really best, rather than trying, well, you can start off by holding the flyer and just trying to wiggle it off. But if it's really tight, if you use the flyer as your purchase point, you could possibly break the glue bond of the orifice in the wood. So you're better really, if it's that tight, to put a bolt on the end and hold that with a spanner and then pull the whorl off. And we have occasionally had people send them back to us because they haven't been able to do it. And it's really just a bit of a case of strength, I think.
Okay.
The guys do it.
Yeah. Of course, as a wheel owner, I don't want to break.
Yeah, but yes, Andrew's just saying that if you have a problem, the best thing to do is to Skype us, and he in particular will talk you through any problems and help you out, and that's just the simplest way.
So contact is probably usually best as a direct email to support@majacraft.co.nz, or through the Facebook group, but the email is usually better to go straight to support, and then you can get the Skype address and make a time to Skype in. Really handy to be able to do that, actually, because sometimes you just got to see it to see what the problem is. But I guess that one can be easily prevented by making sure that you start out with the grub screw in the right place and that it's nicely tightened up, because if it's a bit loose, then it will slip, and that's when it's going to score the shaft. So don't be afraid to tighten that grub screw up really tight, right? It can go pretty hard onto the shaft, and it's not going to break. It won't break if you tighten that up. Okay, so are there any questions, Andy? Andy's watching the chat. He probably can't hear me, so he's got a delay.
No, I think he's just watching. Yeah. There were, well, I don't know whether to bring these up now or not, but there were some questions from Terry during the week, who's obviously intending to do some travelling. And she was wondering, if you travel by air, how to safely get the ore to the destination. Do you check it or do you ship it? And I think as long as you pack it well, either will work. But it's about 10 kilos packed, so it's going to depend a bit on your baggage allowance.
You probably need to put it through a special luggage, I guess.
Pardon?
You probably need to put it in a special luggage.
Yeah, well, you've got to pack it properly, don't you, really, to keep it safe, you know.
So it's probably a good idea for people that if they know they're going to travel, when they get their wheel, to keep the packing that it's come in.
Yeah.
The box and the packing material, so at least you know it's all got to fit into that box. Unless the box, I mean, sometimes these things can get damaged just when they get to you in that one shipping travel. So if the box is really badly smashed up or something, you might want to get another box but the same size.
Well, the problem
would you take it apart? Would you take the wheel apart?
You could take it apart to do that, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's necessarily the answer either. So you've then got to get a fairly large box to fit it in intact.
Yeah. What about the bags that you guys make? I know you've got.
They are very good and strong.
Yeah.
But you still wouldn't want to just put that on without a box around it, I don't think.
Yeah. I've seen the way they treat the luggage. Sitting in various airports around the planet, and you look out the window and there's a plane over there getting loaded up, and they're like literally throwing the stuff in and out of the cargo hold of the plane, and you think, I hope they don't do that to my bag. But I haven't yet had anything broken while I've been traveling, but I haven't really traveled with wheels. I take one in the car all the time, and it's been all over, you know, Europe and New Zealand, but that's only in the car. I haven't
Yes,
flown.
well, yeah. I think people are generally in a rush to pack things rather than thinking here's something to be careful with.
Yeah,
Another
I
question
guess
Terry
one
had.
thing though is that if you did ship it, you can take out insurance on it.
Yes.
Doing that. So if you're certain of the time it's going to take to get there and it will be there in time for what you need it for, if you're going to a workshop or so on, then perhaps look at courier with insurance. So if anything does happen to it, you've got some cover. I don't know if you get that through the airlines or not. I'm not sure, but worth checking out.
I don't know. More if you lost it, probably.
Yeah, that would be upsetting.
She has also asked about the best way to pack the aura in the car, and you're probably like me, Suzy, mine like a seat to themselves and a seat belt.
Yeah, the seatbelt, a baby. Yeah.
Extra passenger. I don't think they mind sitting in the middle though. You know,
No,
in the back.
no, but
In the middle.
my son usually shares the back seat with my wheel. It looks like they're kind of equally important, but you know, he is number one, but you know, the wheel is the one wheel. So I will take off the flyer and the bobbin generally, not always, but if I'm going any distance, I usually take off the flyer and the bobbin and just fold the handle down. You want to check when you get to the other end after your car trip. Just make sure you take your little tool with you for tightening up the head, especially with the aura anyway, because that can move while you're traveling with the car vibrations and so on. So you may need to adjust the head back up or down when you get to your destination. So, and I know this, how important it is to take the tool with you, because a couple of times I've gotten to workshops and the head's dropped down. I'm like, oh no, they have to wind up the tension all the way and it just looks a bit silly. So make sure you carry the tool with you for adjusting the head, just in case of movement. Same with if you go on the plane with it as well. It can move.
I think you'll find though the 4mm Allen keys are probably reasonably readily available.
Yeah, yeah.
Cheap
The trick
auto
is having it at the time that you need it.
Oh,
not
for sure.
sitting in the drawer at home. So and of course the little gem, I travel with my little gem actually is a preference, because if I'm not teaching, if I'm just spinning for myself, I'm quite happy just taking my gem with me. And of course that is brilliant. It just packs up into a bag and I just pick that up and put it in the boot of the car. It's protected. It's all in one container and the bag comes with the wheel, so I don't have to get anything extra for it. It's just absolutely brilliant. I don't know what I did without it actually. Although, you know, it isn't difficult with the aura. I do put the seatbelt around the aura. But if I have no other passengers in the car, that's great. But if you have more people, then it's more problematic. But yeah, but the little gem,
So
of course, it has a travel wheel.
If you've travelled with the gem, have you had it on a plane? Because that was the third question that Terry had.
I haven't on a head, but I might do. I'm actually heading down to Christchurch soon for festival, and I'm flying. So yeah, so I thought, well, I might. It should. There's no reason why it won't fit in the overhead luggage, although it might not quite fit inside their little. You know, your luggage has to fit in this to be hand luggage. Might be a little bit oversized for that, so maybe I'll check with the airline before I go and just make sure I can take it as hand luggage.
Might depend on the size of the plane, but certainly a lot of the planes that we fly in, if we're going overseas, have got heaps of room.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And you see those great big bags some people take. But her question was, would it fit under the seat? And I don't think that would be a good idea, or that it would fit.
I think it's a little bit wide.
Overhead locker.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit wide to go under the seat, and then there's the risk of it getting kicked as well, because it wouldn't fit right underneath. It would stick out. So, but it would definitely fit in the overhead lockers. There's no, especially if you're on a larger flight, longer flight, you have more room anyway. But it definitely would go on the overhead. And it's not that heavy, so it's also, I often get on these planes and I'm in there with, you know, one bag and a handbag or something, and I think it's quite a bit. Then someone will walk in and it's like some tiny lady with this 50-kilo bag trying to get it up into the lockers, and everyone's helping push it in there because it doesn't fit. So I think if they can do that, then we can take our little gems and just, you know, pop it up there. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, and it will certainly travel well. So.
I wonder whether there would be any issue with maybe the fly shaft stabbing the pilot or something.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not sharpened. I probably wouldn't suggest taking the stylus attachment in any form of hand luggage, because they might want to take that off you. That probably wouldn't be a safe one to travel with. But then, yeah, I mean, you can probably put that in your checked-in luggage and it'll be fine.
Probably if you left your bobbin on, they wouldn't worry either.
No, I wouldn't think so. Probably depends where you're flying to as well. I mean, I fly with these, but I no longer put these in my carry-on luggage. They always get checked now, just because I think people won't want to want to find out what they're for. You know, they do look a bit lethal. Okay, so going back to our agenda for the day, threading the flyer, different orifices. This is interesting because there's a lot of different orifices available for Majacraft wheels, and they pretty much fit everything. The overdrive is probably the exception. There's one flyer and it has the orifice on that won't fit the others because it's a special case. How many different flyers have you got, Glynis?
We have got 5.
5.
Yeah. Well, there's more than 5, but 5 with major differences.
Right.
Yeah.
So which ones? We've got the Aura one, which is the one with the
bypassable.
Yeah. It's got like a mini delta. Hang on, let me take that off. I'm not even going to do it properly now because I haven't been able to turn around. Okay. So this has got a delta flyer, but it's got this modification to it, so I can actually bypass this and go straight through here if I want to. Normally I would thread this if I'm doing a smooth yarn through the delta and then through the curl, so it would go through both. If I'm doing a really textured chunky yarn, I'll bypass this and go directly through here. So it gives me some choices depending on what I'm spinning. If I've got a finer yarn or a smoother yarn and I put it through here, it does keep it more stable. Whereas if you just have it through here, it will, like with any large orifice, it will move around more as you're spinning. But that's really good for a huge range of spinning styles on that. So, and I've also got, I have to take this off because I've been using it. Right here, this is what I really love with my little gem, because I've been using I've basically got the 2 wheels. I use the Aura for the big yarns and for the art yarns and for plied ones really. This isn't coming off. And I'm using the little gem for spinning really fine. I'll show you when I'm spinning too, when I can get it off the wheel. This has actually got the lace kit on it, on my gem. So I've got the really, really cute baby bobbin, which I love, and I'm spinning really, really, can you see that? Really fine. Wow. This is a silk merino mix. I know you're laughing at me, Glynis.
I'm amazed.
Ironic, isn't it? Yeah, and it's grey. Can you imagine? Grey.
It's those people you hang out with.
It's 3 years. It's 3 years of rainbow book, and I'm moving on to grey and monotones. So, and this is the flyer that comes with it. This is the fine flyer, isn't it?
It's the baby lace flyer. Yes.
Yeah, the lace flyer. So it's got the closed orifice, and it's got the what is this made of? This really pretty guide.
This is ceramic. I've got the standard fine flyer.
Right, so that fits the standard bobbins, right? The plastic bobbins.
Yeah. Well, it'll fit the standard or the lace, but it's just got
Oh yeah, yeah,
more wind resistance.
yeah. This just fits more closely, so it's got
Yes,
less
yes, yes.
resistance, and it's
Less
cute.
drag.
It's really cute.
They are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
those little bits are they're little eyes from fishing rods, really, and we have to glue them in.
I just love
That
the
make
colours
your
of
roof a
them.
bit smaller, but they last so well.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
good and nice and smooth.
yeah. It is, and it's the perfect size as well for the fine flyer in the lace.
Mm, mm.
It's just right, and it's got it's got the guides, so I can use it with the ceramic in as well. I really like that, and I like spinning with that. So there's basically two sizes with the fine orifice on it,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And we've got the Delta flyer, which is so easy to thread.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, and then with that you've got the plying flyer, which is the large size Delta orifice to go around the jumbo bobbins. And we've also got a wild flyer, and I haven't got one to show you, but it's got a big round ceramic eye. And they were our first attempt at a flyer for art yarns, until we came to the aura and realised that we had to be able to put bigger things in than would go through the wildflower. Well,
And
occasionally
bypassable, I guess, with
Mm.
the aura.
Mm.
It's all bypassable. And the wildflower is enclosed, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas with the aura orifice, as you mentioned, you can miss it all the way through if you've got
Yeah.
things you can get onto
Yeah,
the
if you want
bottom.
to put something big through that doesn't fit through the orifice, you can actually take it right out from the guides, wind it on, and then put it back through again, which is really handy
Yeah.
to be able to do that. Yep.
Suzy, I think we've got a question.
Yep, I just saw Andy's passing one on from Michelle. She's saying her wheels, she's got a Suzy Pro, and her wheels uptake knob is really sensitive on it. She says sometimes she wants to loosen or tighten the uptake, and she gives it a turn that's really small, but the tension changes a lot. Sounds like it's an oversensitive Suzy. What can we do about that?
Yes, well, they're all different, of course. What I'm trying to work out is whether the knob is a little loose or a little tight. You can get a lighter spring, and we have now got a new variety of spring in, which is lighter than the ones we've been using. So if you get that does help, because with the heavier spring you have to make more of a movement generally to affect the tension. But if the knob is too tight, I'd put some candle wax on the shaft. If it's too loose, and this happens in different climates and temperatures and things, the wood moves. Probably the best thing that you could do is to put a very fine smear of glue around the hole and leave it to dry, and then put the shaft in, and you'll find that will take
So
it.
don't glue the shaft in, just put the glue in and then let it dry.
Oh, no,
So
put them
like
together.
a layer on the top.
The other thing that could be happening, and of course, it's always a case of you've got to eliminate all sorts of different things, is the groove on the bobbin clean, and is the tension cord in good order? Because what I've noticed is that if the tension cord gets a little fluffy, that will affect the tension quite a lot, and you might be up for needing a new cord. So just check it occasionally, just see if it's got fluffy. Might be time to have a new one.
Okay, so maybe check the cord first and make sure that's not fluffy. And if that looks okay, then maybe the spring could be causing the problem.
Might want to light a spring.
Yeah.
Talking about tension cords, because that is a topic that people talk about quite a lot, is when the wheel is new, in particular, there's a whistling noise, and that whistling noise is from the tension cord in the groove of the bobbin. Now, generally it'll settle down, but if it really, really troubles you, I can tell you that crochet cotton is quieter. doesn't last so long, but it's quieter. And certainly I'm looking at the moment into whether there's any other sort of cord that we could use that might be strong enough and quieter.
Yeah, because you guys don't want to send out a wheel with a cord that's going to only last, you know,
Like in a week.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. Depending on how
But
much
it's
people spin on board.
important, particularly on the plastic bobbins, never ever use a monofilament fishing line.
So no nylon line on the
No,
plastic bubbles. No, it's just going to
no.
wear the groove out, isn't it?
It heats up, cuts a groove, and that's the end of your bobbin.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good to know. So
20
crochet
minutes.
cottons are quieter
Crochet
material.
cotton's quieter if it troubles you, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And you can always buy yourself a whole roll of it and just replace it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah,
So,
it's very cheap.
yeah, yep, true.
What
Okay.
we use is a braided rayon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it is very strong and it really lasts a long time. Yeah. Okay. Just looking for more questions. So there was one from Kate Mahoney. Hi, Kate. Kate's from down Christchurch way, I believe. Yeah.
Hello,
yeah.
Kate.
So she says when she's folding down the aura head, it seems to loosen off the knob to the point where she has to use the Allen key to tighten it. And she's wondering if this is usual or maybe it was assembled wrongly. I can't answer that one, so I don't know whether you or Andy will have some tips on that.
Can you tell me it again? I just didn't quite.
She said when she folds down the aura head, it seems to loosen off the knob. I take it that's the knob, you know, on the handle, to the point where she needs to use the Allen key to tighten it. And she's wondering if that's usual or if it was assembled wrongly. I'm just looking.
We're talking about the handle nut at the front.
I think so, yeah. And she's probably putting the Allen key at the back.
An easy fix.
Oh, good.
Yes. Take the handle nut off, smear some Vaseline on the thread that it does up onto, and that fixes it.
Oh, wow. It does seem easy.
Vaseline is a great tool.
That's a little
it's
magic.
It's also good if you have it on your fly shaft, it stops bobbin rattle too.
Okay. Yep, I knew to use a little bit there. I didn't know about that on it, but maybe
that's a thing that does sometimes happen. It's to do with the interaction of the metals, I understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Engineering stuff. All right, I'm just going to go back and have a look at our agenda and see what else we need to cover. I've lost it.
Tension cord to cross or not to cross?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good question, man. People have asked me that too, and I thought, what would Glynis say?
I was going to say, what are you going to say, Suzy?
I'd say, well, usually I use an aura, so I don't need to do that.
Oh, what about your gem?
Well, the gem, usually what happens is I come up to your place, you look at it and you turn it around and say, oh, it'll be better if you do that. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. I can give you the technical reason, and I honestly don't change mine, but what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to have the tension cord crossed to do normal spinning.
Z direction.
It's S. To do normal spinning, because what it's doing is it's placing the tension on the knob rather than on the spring, so that if you've got a very sensitive feel in your fingers, you will be able to tell the flutter. So if you're plying, you need to still have the tension onto the knob, so you uncross it.
Okay. So it's all dependent on the direction of the bobbin.
Yes.
So your bobbin should be turning
the tension
away from the knob. Right, and
it's
towards
so that
the
when
spring.
it pulls on the knob, not on the shaft, on the spring.
Right, yeah, because I can imagine the spring would probably bounce against the pull of the bobbin, wouldn't it?
Well, that's the theory, but as I say, I personally don't notice it.
So some people would and some people wouldn't.
But some people
I'm someone
would,
that doesn't.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely would.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good to know. So it goes, the direction of the bobbin goes towards the spring. Either way, you're spinning. Got that. I should make notes because I'll probably get asked that again at some point. Oh, we skipped over where to oil and not to oil. This is one of the things I love about the Majacraft wheels is I don't have to sit here with a little bottle of oil and add oil to it. In fact, I don't think I have ever oiled anything on any of my Majacraft wheels. I know sometimes people oil the hinges on the treadles because
That's the most common one, and that will usually need doing at some stage.
Yeah,
but not
I'll probably have that to look forward to. But yeah, it's yeah, just those hinges. Anywhere else it's useful to oil?
Well, not really, but occasionally, maybe once a year, just a tiny, tiny little drop on the inner bearing on the crank.
On the crank. Oh yeah.
Because people just really, really like to put a bit of oil somewhere.
Yeah. You know what
it's
a good alternative is to this actually, and it's something I think it was our lovely friend Celia Devine from Norway. She had an annual, I'm sure it was her that set it up, an annual do up your wheel thing, and on that day everybody got out their lavender wax and dusted their wheels and waxed the wood and just made them look beautiful and refreshed. And that was probably better than trying to find somewhere to oil it, I think, just to look after the wood on the wheel. It's a good feeling. You feel like, oh, that's just lovely and it smells nice, and it's, I'm sure the wood needs feeding, doesn't it? At some point, especially depending on climate. I know when I was living in Holland, which is actually a very damp climate, but indoors, especially over winter, we had the central heating on, underfloor heating, and the air would dry out so much. It was amazing. And the wheels, my first wheel would just, it got wobbly and cranky, and all our chairs would start squeaking, and I noticed changes to my aura as well. And in fact, I think my first head actually split because the climate was so extreme, going from New Zealand into that very, very dry. I mean, it was at the point where we would actually be putting a glass of water next to the heating just to try and get some moisture back into the air, and constant static and everything. You touch somebody, oh no, don't touch me, because the static was bad. And that did affect the wood, and I sort of thought afterwards that I should have been oiling it more, or, waxing the wood and just feeding it some more. But
certainly very hard on wood, isn't it?
Yeah,
Those extremes. Yeah.
So, and that was a really big extreme, but it's something to be aware of if you got a Majacraft wheel and you're in an extremely different climate, or extremely dry climate. I think putting a bit of extra wax on the wheel every once in a while is not a bad idea. Just to feed it.
I've heard that it's pretty much any wooden products, and I know I was talking to somebody one stage who said violins and even the kitchen table, those, anything that's wood is open to having to contend with those sort of conditions.
Oh, well, our chairs, and it was specifically in winter with the heating on, our chairs would just get all creaky and wobbly, and then during the summer they'd be fine. It was quite noticeable. So yeah, it would be all wood. So the last thing on our list is the spinning head height. And I know a lot of people have asked me about this, especially with the aura, because that's kind of part of the adjustments in the aura, is that you can adjust your spinning by adjusting the height of the aura head. And we've got the little video, it's on the Majacraft YouTube page, YouTube channel, showing all the different ways of adjusting the head, what you can do with it. So basically it's like, if you want to increase your tension and get more tension on your spinning, and you're not getting enough with just using the normal adjuster, which is what I usually use, then you put it up, put more tension on that black band. And if you're wanting to spin fine on it, and someone asked me this just the other day, if you want to spin fine on it, you want to drop it down so that there's almost no tension on the black band. In fact, you can even spin without the black band on, can't you, Glynis?
You can.
Yeah. So it's kind of scotch tension at that point, isn't it? If you take the black band off, which drives the bobbin, so you have a little bit more lightness again on the wheel by just taking that right down, so adjusting the head on that. Couple of the wheels, the Little Gem and the Pioneer, I think is the same. There's no height adjustment on those heads, it's just where it is.
There is.
You don't have to worry
There
about
is. There is.
it. Is there?
Have you seen
yeah,
that little knob down the side?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Suzy.
true. I could lift that up.
You
Didn't think
could.
of that.
But when you're a short person, you don't need to.
No, well, that wouldn't have occurred to me. So yeah, you can actually lift that up. Oh, well, that's
But
quite
not a
handy.
lot, just a bit.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about the Pioneer? I haven't spun on the
Yes,
Pioneer.
same.
Yeah. And the Rose, you showed us before how you can tilt that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the Suzy? What does that have in terms of adjustment on the head?
Same as the Rose.
Same as a Rose, yeah. So it's also really useful if your green drive band starts stretching a little bit on all those wheels. You can just get a little bit more life out of it.
I did think about showing you how to join a drive belt, but I thought I don't think I've got a cigarette lighter in good condition to do it. So,
you know what? Perhaps we should make a little video on that sometime, because I think it's probably quite a useful thing that people want to try out.
Yes.
So maybe we should just make a wee video just to show how to do that. We can do some close-ups on it.
Yes.
Probably get a bit more detail in that.
Well, we use a heat gun here, of course, but if you're, out at a show or something, a cigarette lighter does the trick.
Okay. All right. So any more questions on the chat? Let me have a quick look too. Where are we? My windows are being difficult. I see Andy's been helping out there too, I think.
Andy, have you got anything?
You've seen everything, otherwise I'm taking care of it.
We're all good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been answering some questions over there too, by the looks. That's really good.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. If there's anything important from those questions though, Andy, we can see what happens is when we finish today, this will be on the channel as a recording, but we won't see the questions in the chat alongside it. So if there's anything important from them, maybe we'll do a little FAQ and drop it onto the website as well and pick up any of those questions that we can answer there as well. Okay. Well, no one's bought me a cup of coffee, Glynis. I don't know what's gone wrong. It's just like, it's empty.
You didn't do it right, did you?
I can hear Anna in the background going, oh, mate.
Is that hinting that something?
There was a hint, yeah.
You've done well to last so long.
Yep. All right.
So, if people look at the program that you've set out for other sessions,
for the next
and they
session,
see anything they want to know, it's a good idea to let us know in advance, and then we can cover it.
Yep. So what we'll do for the next live stream, we've got on the blog, we've got the list of dates and times, and I'm pretty sure I've adjusted for daylight saving time and winter time and so on, because we'll change our clock soon. But it will be correct on the YouTube links that I'll post as well. So what I'll do is each time we've got an event coming up, a live event, I will post an event on the Facebook page, and that is a great place for people to come and ask their questions, or they can ask them directly onto the YouTube page that I will link to for that. Next time we're going to be looking at the Rose specifically, and this will be interesting for me because I spun on the Rose and have beautiful wheels to spin on, but I don't have all the technical background with that like I have had with my experience with the Aura. So I'm going to learn stuff from this one as well. So if you have a Rose, or you're thinking about getting a Rose, if you have questions about it, then jump into the Facebook page and leave us your questions. Keep an eye out for the event notification, and I'll also post reminders here and there as well for anyone to join us. And thanks to you guys for coming along today. It's good to know you there. We'll see you next time. 3rd of April is our next. Actually, that's next week, isn't it? It's not far off.
I think it is, yes.
Already almost April. That's actually quite amazing. I may be coming to you from Wellington next week in that case, because I think we're going to go down and visit the city for a while. So
that'll be lovely.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it's been lovely to have everybody along, hasn't it?
It has. It's nice to have plenty of people asking questions too, because it
Mm.
makes it a lot more interesting for us for content too. Because people often come up with questions that I wouldn't think of myself, so, or problems that I haven't had that someone else has had. So,
Mm. Mm.
so all right,
Well, there's not much that can't be fixed.
that's true. Good philosophy in general, Glynis.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes people are a little bit nervous of their wheels, and I mean, they're just a spinning wheel. It's just,
Yeah.
not too hard generally.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like, it's not rocket science, it's a spinning wheel. Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to be a little bit brave sometimes, don't you? Just say, okay, I can do this.
Try the Skype thing.
All right.
That's good.
We'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Suzy. Bye.
Bye.